DIB Relief Fund. So I will give the floor to them. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Sabe, and thank you to everyone. I wanted to first to give thank you for all the people that are organized here, the FACTS, Monica, Sabe, and everyone that is in there. It's a pleasure to be here with all your people. And the goal today is to try to explain more in deep exactly what is this grant out for, how you can apply, and how you can have access more easily to try to apply to this fund. So I am Marisela Parrayes, and I am a program manager at the Business, Finance, and Incentive Division at OEDIT, that we call is the short name for our organization. And I am administrating this program. We're starting to design a couple months ago, and this program is a part of a whole program that is a little bit bigger, that it has part of the grant, a little bit of technical assistance that will be coming out pretty soon, and we can talk about that later on. And also it's going to be part of loans that's going to be given later on as a part of the startup loan group of programs that will be coming later on too. Okay, so next, please. Just to start talking about specifically to the Disproportionately Impacted Business Relief Fund. This is a fund, like I said, it was created at the beginning of the year in the Congress, in the Colorado Congress, and this is a part of a $4 million program. It was created by the Statute 21001, and it is approximately, the part of the grant is approximately $1.7 million that are allocated to this fund. It is intended to support Colorado businesses that receive minimal or not covered relief money from any other grants, federal or state, and it has been received or has been receiving less than $20,000. Any business in that category. We are talking about any grants that are coming from PPP, state grants, and other programs that exist during this year and a half that already we are in this special situation. So what is intended to support those businesses that are the most economically challenged in specific areas. So we have, we are going to talk later, but we have a series of qualification, a qualification type of requirements that we are going to talk later on, that it will help you to get more in deep of this fund. So also the awards amounts are intended between $1,500 and $10,000. So basically those businesses that has having some loss during this period, starting in January 1st, it needs to be businesses that started before that time, and they are not being able to cover their losses with any other fund and have been receiving less than $20,000 can apply to this new fund that will be between $1,500 and $10,000, okay, per business. The applications is open last Friday and will be open only until October 3rd. So be careful. This is a short time period. So please be aware of that and try to make your applications as soon as possible. Next. Okay, we are two organizations that are running this this program. One is Colorado Enterprise Fund, that is a financial institution that is administrating the program. They are hosting the application and the application documentation collection. So everything will be through their website, and they are going to review the applications and documents to determine eligibility, because it's a series, like I said, a series of specific eligibility for the grant, and they are going to distribute the awards associated with the documents 1099. So as OEDIT, as the agency of the government, we are the owners of the program. We will take the decisions for grant awards and awards amounts, because people can go between any of that amounts between $1,500 and $10,000. And we will review everything that CEF is bringing to us, and we will decide the final grants for every business. And we have community partners like the FACTS and other business organizations that are working with us and that are providing technical support for applicants. So you can look for some help to try to make your application if you don't know how to do it or you have some problems with the documentation. Several organizations are helping us to, or helping businesses to get in this application. Next. Eligibility. This is very important and be very aware of this. First of all this is the major criteria that you need to be aware of. The grants have been done for any Colorado business. The business needs to be located in Colorado and is for profit business. No profit organizations don't qualify for this grant. Every business needs to be in good standing with the Secretary of State of Colorado. That is a very important requirement. If you are not ready with that, it's a very 5 minutes process. You go to the Secretary of State and you get your certificate of good standing there. The business needs to be started or be running already from January 1st, 2020, and is still in operations. Those businesses that are closed already don't qualify for this grant. All the businesses need to be current in all the taxes with the state and federal, of course, and we will ask for all that certification. It needs to have at least one full-time employee. So one person that is working, dedicated 40 hours a week to work in the business, that can be the owner. So if you are only the owner working in this business, you can qualify, but it needs to be dedicated 40 hours to the business. And no more than 500 employees. Then about the COVID impact, what you need is to have in your business, you have 20% decline in revenue income due to COVID. So you need to prove that in your application. You need to tell and prove with your documentation that your revenues in comparison with the last year was more than 20%, was down more than 20%. It needs to be at least 1,500 total of economic harm from COVID-19. So the minimum loss that you need to have is 1,500, okay? And up to 10,000. And also you need to have been received no more than $20,000 on COVID relief funds, and any funds at the federal or at state government, it counts on this. So if you already received more than $20,000, you are not eligible for this grant. And finally, we have a full eligibility list in the website, the Colorado Enterprise Fund, our website of the program called Disproportionately Impacted Business Grant Program. You can find all the other qualifications, but these are at least the minimum that you need to have in place. Next. Okay, I'm going to give a pass now to Neem Patel. He is our person who have been working from Colorado Enterprise Fund, and he will continue talking about that.
Maricela, appreciate that, and thank you everyone for inviting us and all the support. And we just want to make sure that everyone knows that at Colorado Enterprise Fund, so we've been in Colorado for over 40 years. We have, prior to COVID, we had our primary mission and purpose is we're a nonprofit entity that supports small businesses, providing loan capital where you're not able to get loan capital from traditional sources like banks or other sources. In about a 40-year history before COVID, we had deployed $100 million into Colorado small businesses, and we're proud to say during the time of COVID, we've been able to deploy almost $100 million of different types of funds, PPP funds, grant funds, loan capital. And so we're excited to partner with the state and the OEDIT here on this program. So what are the documents that are going to be required when you submit your application? So really key documents are going to be your 2020 and 2019 complete federal business tax return. And I say complete because in some grant programs, some applicants will only submit partial pages, and what we do need a complete return so that we can look at all the different information that was in there. If you're a sole proprietor, you might be filing a Schedule C with your tax return, and that's okay. And so if you're a Schedule C filer, we need the complete Schedule C and supporting documents that you use to file when you do that. On the personal level, as a business owner, the primary business owner will also need the 2020 and 2019 complete personal tax returns. We'll use that information to determine some additional components of eligibility, such as a low income status or low to moderate income status, or also the area where the business owner lives, which might give additional criteria for the award. We'll also require a current, what we call a year-to-date 2021 balance sheet and income statement. So this is really just to see where the business stands right now. If you don't have currently accounting systems or other methods in place to create those balance sheets and income statements, there are in the application, there are links to templates. And this is where working with a partner like Fax or others out there would be really beneficial. They can help you put together those interim current financial statements if you don't have those available in your business right now. You'll also be required to upload a copy of a valid government issued ID of the primary business owner. And in the application and on the website, there's a list of valid IDs. It's not just a driver's license or a passport. It's a really broad range of valid IDs. And so hopefully everyone will be able to do that and be able to meet one of the ID requirements. And then if you haven't done this before, you'll have to, there's another link on the application to download from the IRS website, a form called a W-9. What a W-9 is it documents the tax identification of the business. The reason we will need a current signed W-9 is that if anyone receives an award at the end of the year, Colorado Enterprise Fund will issue a 1099 in the amount of the award. And what that means is it's a document that essentially shows the IRS that you received some amount of money. And so technically, everyone's tax situation is different, but technically this grant receipt is taxable. It's a taxable event. And so you'll receive a 1099 at the end of the year for the amount of the award. Next slide, please. So what's the award criteria? How are we going to collectively between Colorado Enterprise Fund and OEDIT view these applications? And so the first step is the step where we and I'm just going to use our short-term CF, where CF comes in. And that is, does the applicant meet all the eligibility requirements? So our team will be looking at all the documents you submit, all of the questions you answer for eligibility. And if we determine yes, that the business meets the eligibility requirements, then we're going to submit the information over to OEDIT that they are requesting from us to be able to make a decision on an award amount. If the answer is no, the application will not be considered for an award. And I think it's really important to say, because this has happened in other grant programs that we've administered, the no can come simply because all the required documents are not received. Now, we're not just robots over here, and so we will give everyone an opportunity to submit the correct documents. It's pretty clear which ones you need to submit, but our team, as they're going through your application, they will reach out to you if you have documents that you have not submitted. One word of caution: it is a lot easier for our team to review the documents and ask you for additional documentation earlier in the period, such as this week, versus waiting until the last day. And we have many people that wait until the last day. In fact, we have people that wait until the last minute and they submit their applications at 4:59 on the day that it's closed. And and from time to time, they'll submit applications and they'll be incomplete applications. It becomes a lot harder for us to be able to give you grace period to give us the right application. So please, if you have issues with applications, number one, I highly recommend working with one of the community partners. And then if you still have issues with documentation, please try to submit it early so that we can work with you on that. And so there are enough funds to award all eligible businesses. So the $1.7 million, if there's enough applications and they meet all the criteria and we can award $1.7 million, that's it. We'll award the $1.7 million and the grant fund will close upon the distribution of all the awards. Next slide, please. So this is a lot, but what happens if there's more demand, more application than the fund amount? So, $1.7 million has been allocated. What if there's 2.5 million of application requests? Well, if there are more eligible applicants and funds available, there's a priority list, and priorities will be given to businesses that meet any of these criteria. And I'm not going to read all of them, but in the summary of all of this is the intent of this program, as the name suggests, was to give awards to those businesses that had been disadvantaged, ones that had been in economically distressed areas, ones with owners with lower income levels, ones with smaller businesses, and also, businesses that just weren't able to get other help such as PPP or other grants or state unemployment if you were a sole proprietor. So if the program is oversubscribed, we will use these criteria, which is why we will ask questions related to this in the application. Next slide, please. So some tips for you all to make sure that you can have a successful application. As I mentioned before, we've done at this point thousands and thousands, I'm not exaggerating, of applications and almost $40 million of grants that we've helped distribute through CF in the last 12 months. And so, some of the common things we see is, make sure you get all of your documents ready in digital format before you begin the application. You can go to the application at any time and look at it and get yourself familiar with it. But those documents that I talked about before, the tax returns, the financial statements, make sure you have those ready in a format that you can upload before you begin the application. Sometimes people give us documents that are password protected. Most common is your tax return. If your tax return is password protected, please remove the password because we can't access the tax return if it's password protected. Or if you can't remove the password, then there is an email address that is available on the website. After you submit your application, email that email address and with the password so that we can look at your information. Make sure and sign and date that W-9 that I referred to, the business name and whatever tax identification number you're using, your social security number, your tax ID, they need to match the tax returns that have been provided to us. We see that often where sometimes the information on the W-9 doesn't match the tax returns. That will slow the process down. You can save and return to the application at any time. It is not a portal where you come back and log in. When you choose to save, there's an option you'll see in the application where it says to save and return. When you choose that, there'll be a pop-up window that provides you with a link to your application. Make sure you copy that link. You can copy it and paste it anywhere you want in a Word document, in your notes, but just copy and save that link, and you would use that link to return back to your application. That will be a unique link for you. As I noted before, please provide all pages of tax return documents. Just the top 2 to 3 pages will not suffice, and it will slow the process down, and we will come back and ask for the full tax return. These awards are going to be distributed directly to bank accounts, and so we will ask for banking ACH information. ACH information is the fancy way of saying we'll need to know your bank account number, your route, the bank routing ID, and the account number. Those are the 2 numbers that are typically found on a check. Some businesses these days don't even have checks. They're 100% digital and mobile. And so if you don't have a voided check or some other evidence of that, 2 tips here is that you can go to your bank and they will print out on their letterhead your banking information. What is the routing number? What is your bank account number? If you don't have easy access to your bank, even a screenshot from your online banking account, which shows the account number, and then on almost all banking sites, either on the main web page or within a page easily findable, they can show what the routing number is of that bank. And again, if you're unclear there, I would just suggest reaching out to one of the community partners. They should be able to help guide you easily in that process. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, here are the community partners that are offering the free support. Of course, right there at the top is the FACTS partnership, and probably the one that all of you all would turn to right away. But I also wanted to know there are plenty of others, including SEDS, who is on this call, that are available for free support to help you out. We want to make this as open of a process as possible. We do not want to let any of the requirements get in the way of people applying. And so we've got a great list of partners here. And in a moment, I'll show you the website where the application is. And on that website, there's more detailed information for each one of these partners, including email addresses and phone numbers to where you can call them. Next slide, please. And so here are the 2, just you don't have to memorize these links, but we have different pages, one in English and one in Spanish, and we'll go to those in a moment. And a quick recap on the timeline. Maricela mentioned that the application already opened last Friday. And it's okay. It was just last Friday. There's still plenty of time to apply. I wouldn't wait till the last minute, which is October 3rd at 5 p.m. That's the last minute, but I would encourage you to apply in the coming days. And so once all the applications are received, we will take a few weeks there to process them and check for eligibility and come back if there's any questions. And then we will submit that information over to OEDIT. And what we will do is we will announce on October 18th the grant awards. We will do announcements of both awards and declines. And so it won't be a vacuum. If you were declined for eligibility reasons, you will also get an email letting you know that. And then the following week, the week of October 25th, the grant awards will be distributed via ACH directly to bank accounts. And so if I'm able to share the screen, I would like to let me see if I can do that here. I'm going to ask for sharing presentation. I can pop over to the CF website if that's okay. And while I'm doing that, if there's any other questions in the chat, please put them in and we'll try to answer them. So here we go.
Neem, I just want to take a second and recognize Teresa joined us while you were presenting. Teresa,
okay.
Afrocentric hair braiding.
Hi, Savi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Okay. All right. Let me share my screen now.
Okay. You should be able to share the screen right now.
Okay. So this is, one moment, let me just move this over. This is the Colorado Enterprise Fund website. It's coloradoenterprisefund.org. And when you come to the landing page, first of all, in some of the other information you may have received, there will be direct links to the actual grant page. But if you can't remember those links or you haven't been able to find them, when you come to coloradoenterprisefund.org, two things. This is what we call a rotating image and information here. You may have seen right when I landed on this page, there was information about the DIB program. It takes a little while for these things to change, but it's at one point you land on the page and it may give you a direct link to the DIB program. If you land on the page, our homepage, and it looks like this and it doesn't have the DIB program, you go to the resources and we have grant programs listed here. And so when you click on the grant programs, this is our overall grant program page. As I mentioned before, we've had many grant programs running with Colorado Enterprise Fund, and we highlight the ones that are current. And so currently we're running the DIB program. And so when you click on the Learn More is where you're taken to the actual page of the program. We recorded a short webinar in English, which is very similar to what we are doing here right now. It's almost identical, but you can watch that video here. And by tomorrow, there will also be a version of it in Spanish. So if you can't remember this, I'm sure the fax is recording this, but there will be videos on our webpage that essentially say what I've just said, again, in both English and Spanish. There are more details here about eligibility. Again, if any of these are confusing to you, I encourage working with partners. If any changes are made to the program timelines, we will highlight them here on this box. And then the two application links are here. Here's the English application link, and here's the Spanish application link. When you click on the link, you are taken to the online actual application itself. And we tried to make this in such a way that you can find the information in multiple places. So we have the application starts out with a lot of information about the program timelines listed again, all the supporting documents. It's kind of repetitive, but in a way so that you can always know exactly what you need. I noted before, here's a long list of all of the different eligible IDs. So again, it's not just a driver's license. And then you'll be asked to check questions in boxes that you understand the program, you understand different parameters. And as you go through the application is when you'll go and answer different questions and upload the documents. I'm going to go back here and note that as you scroll down the page, we've got all of our partners, current active partners on this program listed, along with contact information and phone numbers. And so again, contact any of these for help. And then we also have a set of frequently asked questions down here at the bottom. And then last, I would say, is that down here, and it's also included in the application itself, this is the email address that has been set up, dibgrant@coloradoenterprisefund.org, where you can email additional questions, or you can email those passwords we talked about, or email certain things. If we ask you for more information, it's going to come from that email address, and you'll be replying to that email address. So it's a lot. It's a lot of information. We wanted to be as informative as possible, but I will come back and say we tried to make it as simple as possible. So we had to work with some of the state requirements and legal. Whenever you get legal involved, things get longer than you want it to be. But generally speaking, we believe it's a pretty simple application, and one that everyone should be able to take advantage of if you meet the eligibility requirements. So I'm going to stop sharing there, and I'm going to check the chat. And Maricela, were you able to answer most of the questions so far?
I believe so. So it's one question here says, do the business need to provide any documentation on what they were going to use the funds for?
Yeah, so we don't. So on the back side, once the application, and I'm going to also, Maricela, please tell me if I'm wrong here. There have been some grant programs in the past, either state or federal levels, that ask for reports, follow-on reports of how did you use the funds. I don't know that there's an intent on this program to do that. However, there is a list of eligible items. So what can you use your funds on? And there's a really important one that has to do with, again, legal issues and where these funds came from. One of the biggest restrictions, I would say, that everyone should be aware of: you can't use the funds to essentially pay for something that you already paid for with other funds. One would scratch your head and say, well, if I've already paid for it with other funds, how could I pay for it again? But just keep that in mind, is that it is a legal requirement that you will check a box saying that I understand I cannot use these funds if I'm awarded to pay for expenses that I've already paid for with PPP or something else that may have been out there. So that's just one of the restrictions, but there is a full list of items that are eligible. And I would say, again, it's very common things. You can use it for payroll expenses. You can use it for, different equipment, those types of things. So it's all the eligible items are in the application on the FAQs.
Yeah, and additionally to that, Nim, there's one space in the application where we are asking, how are you planning to use this? So people will explain they're using the funds and what are they needed, because you need to prove that there are losses from COVID that you had not been able to cover with any other funds. So you are going to use this fund for that. So that's the only addition to that.
Good point.
I have a quick question. If you could just go over again the eligibility as far as like who is eligible. Sole proprietors, are they eligible?
Sole proprietors are eligible, yes.
And if you file the Schedule C?
If you file the Schedule C, absolutely. I think we will see a large number of Schedule C filers, so absolutely eligible. Now, one thing that is noted that we didn't talk in the on the website, on the PowerPoint, but it's in the website. Part-time and hobby businesses are not eligible. So that's that one requirement of the business owner working 40 hours a week on the business is important. So if you're a sole proprietor, you have your own, your own catering business, you have your own consulting business, you have your own construction business. As long as you are working 40 hours a week in that business, you're eligible.
Okay. Is there restrictions on the owner's income? I read something about 76,000. Could you explain that to us? I'm sure the business owners on the call will also appreciate that.
Yes, really good question. So there's no restriction on business owner income. There is when business owner's income will be taken into account if there's more demand than there's funds. If there's more demand than there's funds, so if there's in my example, if there's 2.5 million of eligible participants and we only have 1.7 million to distribute, we will look at those different criteria. And so if somebody, and all things being equal, if somebody has $100,000 of income as an applicant and they meet all the criterias, and then somebody has $50,000 of income as a applicant and we're oversubscribed, preference will be given to the one with the lower income.
Okay, thank you. Mm-hmm. And I do notice there are a couple of more people who joined as the presentation continued. If you could please put your name and your business name in the chat. That would be great. I also see, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, Akua Bonsu. If you can hear me, please put your business name in the chat. That's Akua Bonsu. What else? Yeah, I think that's all. And everybody on here, just remember that you're very much eligible for this grant. I noticed that you all being minority or some business owners being women, so you do have an advantage, and probably I want to say a high chance of getting this grant potentially. So please do apply. If you need help, let us know. We'll sit down with you and give you one-on-one support, or our other partners could help you with technical assistance. Continue, New. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. So that was the end of the presentation and everything that we have to, I'm looking at the chat to just see if there's any additional questions or anything. Please don't be shy. If there's questions, Maricela and I would love to answer them and help you out however we can.
Yeah, I want to emphasize two little details. One of the qualifications, as you saw on the list, that is talking about if you live or your business is located in distressed areas like opportunity zone, enterprise zones, or hub zone. These are special areas that have been defined by the government that has preference for some people located in that area if you live in the area or your business is in the area. How do you can know that? In the website, we have the links for each of these areas where you put your address and you can figure it out if you are in the area or not. And second of all, the other thing, yeah, please communicate through the email that Nim gave you, which is DIB grant@coloradoenterprise.org. And finally, the other organizations that are helping us is the SVBCs. If you are close or you have a close relationship with your small development business or institutions that are coming from the government also, they have been helping to do these applications too. Finally, one thing that I wanted to emphasize is within the application, there's two templates because you need to provide your balance and your a couple of documents for finance things. There are templates in there. If you don't have your own document, there are templates there that you can download and put your information in there. So that is also very helpful.
Great. Any other questions? I am looking at the chat as well. If you have a question and you would like to ask, please feel free to raise your hand, or you could also unmute yourself and ask your question. Okay, more people are joining in. If you could just give us a quick reminder of when are the due dates and like maybe two or three things that business owners who are on the call right now could take away from this call, that would be great.
Yeah, so a quick recap for those who are just joining. This is we are talking about a grant program that is eligible for up to $10,000 in awards for businesses. And to just really quick eligibility criteria, it's meant to support businesses that have not received more than $20,000 of other COVID relief. So PPP, state grants, county grants, state unemployment if you're a sole proprietor. So if you haven't really received any other COVID support, this is a great grant program for you. You will have to show that you had at least a 20% decline in revenue or income over, during the COVID period, and we're really comparing 2020 to 2019, and a whole host of other information and